fuck who did I offend? Sit back, I'm about to sit back, I'm about to begin. Sit back, I'm about sit back, I'm about to begin. Sit back, I'm about to begin. Back, I'm about to begin.
So what's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like. Again, I'm Jared Ball. IMixWhatILike.org, at I Mix What I Like for all your relevant social media. And I'm very happy to be joined by two of my favorite people. One, Rob Biko Baker, PhD from UCLA in history, League of Young Voters, longtime activist, and creator most recently of what we're going to talk about today, the White People Meter. And of course, my longtime comrade, soon-to-be Dr. Rosa Clemente, PhD candidate, Green Party vice presidential nominee in 2008, longtime activist and organizer. Welcome to you, Rosa, and to you, Biko. It's good to be joined by the both of you. Thanks for joining me.
How you doing? Appreciate you, bro.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Biko, let's just start with what you did here. Tell us a little bit about your White People Meter. And very quickly, how you put it together and what your conclusion is.
Yeah, man. So, even before the pick of Tim Kaine, I just been sort of just looking at the Democratic Party strategy. And what I've been seeing is that really an abandonment of the 2008 and 2012 roadmap. And, even with the Bernie Sanders campaign, man, this is, not yet public knowledge, but I reached out to these people and offered to connect them to some of the biggest names of hip hop, and they didn't follow up and didn't go through. And so I was like, oh, I get it. You don't really want black people around, And then once Tim Kaine got picked, I was like, man, how can you pick the whitest white guy, And so I just started looking at the map and saying, oh, we're looking at a 2000 or a 1996, vote map. And it's pretty depressing because you're looking at just I think the rise of white power, white political power in a way that I thought, maybe ignorantly that we had sort of pushed away in 8 and 12, and is resurging in a way that is way more scary to me than ever, ever. So, and I'm talking about the Democratic Party. So my conclusion is Trump wins. And I'm here in Pennsylvania. I initially gave Pennsylvania to Clinton because I had spent a lot of time here. There's a machine here, but every white guy I talk to above the age of 30, and I'm asking them, and they're unashamedly telling me they're going for Trump because of what he talks for. So,
yeah, looking at your White People Meter, and again, we encourage people. We're going to play a little bit of it here, but people might be seeing it now. But at whitepeoplemeter.com, where they can check out the video and see it in more detail. But you had initially said, advantage Clinton. Because of Ed Rendell, will tell the people in Pennsylvania how they should vote. But you're saying now that you're not so sure that that's going to hold up. I was looking at Nate Silver's stuff too, and his latest analysis is also that Trump would win if the election were held today. So your White People Meter and Nate Silver are at least in line for the moment. But I am also glad, by the way, that you offered up, another way to approach it besides just Nate Silver's obvious brilliance and all of that,
Yeah, I'm going to keep updating it too because Nate Silver is important, but we always, someone asked me we've been doing this now since the Hip Hop Political Convention. And a lot of us, have intuition has been right. I can't remember, me and my buddy from Philadelphia, Sahar, we've been picking right horses, and that's scary to me because, either way we're screwed. So
I did also want to ask you, that part of how you say you put this together. You not only mentioned that you have a PhD, but you also mentioned your biracialness in particular, which I, obviously, I'm partial to that kind of conversation. Right on. But I'm wondering how you deploy that, or why you say that means something in terms of determining your conclusion. What about being so-called biracial allows offers you some sort of insight into this particular issue?
I mean, I just light skin privilege is a real thing, and having attended Lutheran white schools, through college, you get a unique perspective and maybe an inside perspective on how white supremacy and white patriarchy works. And working and lived in a city like Milwaukee with those working class white people, I know how they think, and I know how my mama's people think. I don't even talk to my mama's people for the most part. And so I know that if my family is like that, people that don't love me are like that. So it's like an intuition, man. And like I said, we haven't been wrong for the most part. People I rock with have been able to win elections or predict elections pretty regularly.
Right. So, Rosa, speaking of light skin privilege, let me bring you into the conversation too a little bit. But having heard Biko's analysis, obviously, give your response, and then let's segue into what you think our response collectively should be to this information and perspective.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to Biko's work, I think there's three things specifically I, as a Latina woman, look at, right? So a lot of people in my family on one side are Republicans, and they're proud, and they're rolling with Trump, and even when I ran in '08, people in my family were like, that's cool. I don't care. Like, I'm voting for the Republican. And a lot of it for that side of the family, which I think is for people to understand that Trump is polling at like 12% in the Latino community. And I think those that would have normally come out in this Obama coalition are so despondent over particularly what 8 years has looked like for deportations, even though immigration is not the only issue in the Latino community. It's been the overarching issue. But then people forget that a lot of Latinos are socially conservative around the issues of abortion still to this day, right? And, so I think we have to look at that. And then I can't believe that we're so close to this election and we haven't talked about the patriarchy. There are men in this country of every demographic that will never vote for a woman. And I think that's going to be an issue. And I feel like, especially the Democratic Party, hasn't handled that issue at all. What they've done is ignore it to their peril. And I'm in upstate New York, right? If you look at who voted in upstate New York, it went heavy Trump and heavy Bernie. So outside of New York City, New York State is not a liberal state. So kind of the same white men mentality, Confederate flags, factories all up and down from Newburgh, New York to the Buffalo border have closed. And then lastly, most African-American Latino young people might not be voting in this election. Yeah. So when they talk about a Black demographic, who are they talking about? They're talking about people mostly over 50. And then one of the other things that will happen, well, maybe over 40, but one of the other things that we need to understand is that there's still going to be voter intimidation at the polls, that people are going to be turned away from voting. What are those voting rosters going to look like? How many people will be purged, right? Like all these kind of issues that particularly the Democratic Party should have been talking about just in general from the beginning. So I think those are three specific things that, looking at what Dr. Biko Baker did with that, I think is very, very, very important. So I'm never one to predict. I don't think I have the statistical analysis to do that, but I do go off vibes, and I would kind of concur that Trump could actually win this election, because I believe too a lot of people are going to stay home or just not have not be inspired to come out at all.
Yeah, so Biko, let me just ask you, and we can, obviously have many more conversations and extend this beyond today, but Rosa and I have advocated a long time breaking with the Democrat and Republican parties, building something within the Green Party or something different. Given where your analysis is now, what would you call people to do in this election, and then after November, what would you suggest people do going forward?
I talked to Davey D about this, I think yesterday. And I said there's two things that people need to do. There's obviously, I'm here at the Democratic National Convention, and I'm seeing a new activist class come through and sort of replacing the class of people that, like myself, were like independent formations. Yeah. And so, like, we have to push those people. And I've been pushing some of them. Some of them are starting to not like me because I've known them for 10 years. That we need them to invest in power building, not party building, power building at the city level, and particularly in the Rust Belt area for me, because I feel like the cities have to be our safe haven. Whoever is in this going to be president is going to be attacked, in my opinion, on black and brown power. And through the city, the formation of city government, we can engage and push back. And so we need to push those folks to invest in city organizing. And then we have to build a third way, man. Like, I've been doing this since 2004, and I thought we had something in 2008. By 2012, I was a little bit more awake, but we have to build a third way that challenges for power at the state and federal level, because, I spent a year in Ferguson. We were talking and yelling at Democratic governors and Democratic mayors. We weren't yelling at, Republican people. So we got to develop a third way. I'm not all the way clear on how that looks. I lean on Rosa on the Green Party. I know you guys have done a great job. My homie David Cobb, who I've talked to, said that they need you more now than ever, because at the same day, I still, some of that white crunchiness, we're just not coming into it, and so we need something that embraces us all the way.
No,
yeah.
That's the trick bag we're in. Rosa, go ahead and if you would respond to that same question.
I also believe, honestly, the Green Party is missing an amazing opportunity, right? You don't know it's an anti-establishment year and then still stick to the same base that has gotten you nowhere since Ralph Nader ran. In fact, I just had a conversation with Nader today over email because of an article that just came out, and I just happened to email him, and his whole thing is, this idea of power building, as well, that the Green Party has consistently failed at that you can't now go to black and brown people. Why are you courting just Bernie Sanders supporters when eventually most of them will either stay home or go to Clinton, based on kind of that idea of the lesser of two evils. So I'm more with what Biko is saying now, like, how do we power build and how do we look at local government? Because here, again, in upstate New York, everyone running things is Democrats, right? They are Democrats, including the governor. But what they really are light Republicans. So as the Republicans veer towards the Tea Party right of the right, in fact, even what we saw last night, that could have been Reagan giving the speech Obama gave last night. It could have been like all this idea of like, we're droning people and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. That is actually not even what I grew up thinking the Democrats were about. So
no, there were mainstream media commentators saying the same thing all day today, that speech minus this or that adjustment could have been said exactly verbatim by Reagan. So
yeah, that's how I felt watching it. So for any third party, it's the same thing, people have been telling the Democratic Party, kind of what we tried to do with the hip hop political convention, and say, wait, you're not going to continue to use us, But then what does that mean if we don't have the mechanisms where we built power to hold them accountable when they are just trying to use us or they're just coming to us every 4 years? We have not built that mechanism yet. And I believe that that's the only way that we can go. And if that is within the Green Party, in terms of electoral politics, fine. If it means an independent political party and we try to do something radically different where we do concentrate on taking local power, then I'm good with that, because I don't see things significantly changing in the electoral political arena on federal elections within the next 4, maybe 8, 12 more years.
Well, Rosa Clemente, soon to be Dr. Clemente, PhD candidate, former Green Party vice presidential nominee, Dr. Biko Baker, whitepeoplemeter.com. Thank you very much. I appreciate both of you, man, and I look forward to continuing this discussion with you and others going forward. So, like Fred Hampton used to say, peace if you're willing to fight for it. Peace to you and all the rest watching, and thanks again.
Peace, man.
Peace, y'all.
What would you do if a vicious enemy suddenly started coming at you, armed to the teeth and ready to kill you?